He was watching his girlfriend sleep peacefully. Suddenly a large group of police officers broke in. It turned out the police had received a tip. Soon they found a huge stash of contraband and weapons in his house. There were even 2 heavy-duty firearms. This meant he was facing serious criminal charges, but he didn't seem worried at all. While he was confidently waiting for his father to bail him out, his father asked him to plead guilty to protect the family's interests, and made a deal with the prosecutor to reduce Jack's sentence to 4 years. The sudden bad news hit him hard, but under his father's pressure, he agreed to take the plea deal. During the trial, he calmly admitted to his crimes, but the judge believed he had the weapons to protect the illegal goods. So he was sentenced to 10 years in prison under the minimum guideline. Only then did he realize both he and his father had been played by the prosecutor. Seeing his youth slipping away behind bars, Jack refused to accept it. So he used his strong leadership skills, and gradually became a leader in the prison. He even started a small business. He rented out magazines to other inmates every day, and made quite a bit of money from it. But all his little schemes were actually being monitored by the police. They didn't expose Jack because they had a special mission planned for him. Lisa wanted him to go undercover for the police, to approach a serial killer inside the high-security field prison, and get the killer to reveal where the bodies were hidden. If successful, Jack would be released immediately, but that prison held only the worst psychopaths and killers. Jack immediately turned down the mission, so Lisa just gave him the case file, and told him to think about it. But then his mother came to visit and told him his father had suffered a stroke and couldn't visit anymore. If he stayed in prison for the full 10 years, he might never see his father again. That made Jack start to change his mind. Later that night, he opened the file on the serial killer, but what he saw made him break into a cold sweat. This killer had murdered 14 young girls, yet the police couldn't convict him after his arrest, because Paul had a severe personality disorder. Sometimes he seemed slow and harmless. Other times he was terrifyingly violent, as if flipping between idiocy and genius. So far the police had only found 1 body. The other 13 bodies were still missing. Due to these unusual circumstances, the judge believed Paul only confessed under outside influence. If the police couldn't find more bodies before the next trial, and prove Paul was responsible, he would be set free, and no one knew how many more girls might die. After much inner struggle, Jack went to see Lisa, and told her he would take the undercover job. But Lisa shook her head, and showed him a photo of another candidate. Jack didn't expect there would be competition for the job. The other guy was a boxing coach, strong and friendly looking. He seemed like a better fit for the mission than Jack. Jack suddenly felt the pressure, so he started bragging, which made Lisa annoyed. So Jack switched to honestly talking about his past. His parents had divorced long ago, each of them too busy with their own lives. He grew up in that chaos. After hearing that, Lisa's expression began to soften. She realized Jack and Paul had something in common. Both came from broken homes, which deeply affected their personalities. One became rebellious, the other extremely repressed. So Jack was chosen for the undercover mission. He boarded the plane to field prison. The police created a new identity for him. Only the warden and prison psychologist knew who he really was. Lisa would pose as his girlfriend during the operation. The inmates there were all extremely dangerous. One wrong move and Jack might never leave alive. So he had to stay completely alert. But as he approached the prison, he started getting scared, and wanted to back out. With the police's final reassurance, he made up his mind to take the risk. After entering the prison, the guards gave him a full inspection, then placed him in the cell next to Paul. But an entire day passed, and Jack didn't see Paul at all. All the inmates looked terrifying, so he didn't dare ask around about Paul. He was woken up late at night by noises of fighting in the prison. Then he saw Paul returning to his cell. Paul had just finished his cleaning duty, so the two locked eyes through the bars. The real confrontation had officially begun. The next day Jack tried to talk to Paul, but Paul was cold and ignored him completely. At mealtime he tried again to speak to Paul. Still no response. But then Jack's father suddenly came to visit. He wanted to use his police status to get Jack special treatment from the guards. But this revealed Jack's undercover status. At this point regret was too late. Jack had no choice but to risk it, and keep going. The guard promised to keep it secret on the surface. But soon he approached Jack again. After Jack's father revealed he was a cop, the guard discovered Jack's prison identity didn't match. And the only reason for this was that Jack was undercover. That meant he was an informant. The guard used this to demand Jack pay $100,000 to keep the mission running smoothly. Jack had no choice but to agree. But when he asked his father for the money, His father had spent all the savings on medical bills, and their valuable belongings had been stolen by his younger brother. He had to ask Lisa for help, but the undercover plan was arranged by Lisa alone. She couldn't provide Jack with the $100,000, and to end the mission and get him out of prison would take 2 weeks. Jack had no other option. He had to risk his life and continue the mission, to quickly get Paul to reveal where the bodies were buried, and save himself.